Um, Fernanda,
Here.
Angela,
Here.
thanks. Kate, Kate, Alicia, Marlo, I see you here. Bree, Rihanna, and Mackenzie. Yes, I see you. Okay, so Lindsay is next. Please say your title, more or less, your focus, and say what is the text that you're referring to in Boricuas.
Okay, so my title is let me find what I put down. Stereotypes in the past and present. And I'm gonna be using the text, The Myth of the Latin Woman. I just met a woman named Maria by Judith Ortez Cofer. And
Oh, just give
how
me a,
I started out.
just give me a second to
Okay.
time you, okay? You may begin.
Okay. So stereotypes have always been used, but I believe like today they've always been used, but today like they're used widely because of like the increase in use of social media and technology. And I put the definition of a stereotype, and it is an overgeneralized belief about a particular category of people. Um, in the article, The Myth of the Latin Woman, I just met a woman named Maria. The author talks about several hardships that she endured due to the misleading stereotypes propagated by the media. She talks about how like Latin American women deal with them a lot. And she begins her story with telling an experience where a man started singing to her Maria from West Side Story while she was on a bus with other passengers. She stated how after the man was done singing, the other people on the bus started clapping for the man. And I used a quote where she put, "Though I was not quite amused myself," and she didn't like it because it was embarrassing and it was like obviously like a stereotype that the man like put on her. And um, stereotypes are in no way a good thing because they because of the fact that they oppress certain groups or certain people. And I feel like as if everyone like has been subjected to a stereotype because of like whatever they're like doing, like their ethnicity, like their gender even. And like I feel like for myself I've been objected to stereotypes because like I'm a female athlete, and I feel like there's a lot of stereotypes on female athletes, like even like for the sport, like certain sports you play. And I feel like in order to stop stereotypes, like we need to like teach like younger children about stereotypes like when they're like young, to like for them to get the idea like they're not good things that people should have to like worry about dealing with, and like they're bad. And like it can like hurt somebody's feelings, like when you put a stereotype or even a group of people's feelings. And like in the article, Judith Ortez Cofer talks about like how like whenever she was a student and they had to do career day, how they had to like dress up, and she was like really worried about what she was like how she was going to dress for it because she went to a Catholic school and they wore uniforms. And how like she only really dressed up outside of school for like mass and like family events. So she was worried about how she was going to portray that like career day, like dress or whatever, like how she was going to dress up for that day. And yeah. And another one was how she was talking about how she was regarded as a waitress, and I forgot what they referred to her as. Like I can't really remember, but yeah. And the stereotypes are negative, and that they're always gonna. I feel like they're always gonna be there, like no matter what day and age we are in. Like they're always gonna be an impact on society, and like I feel like it'll be hard to like stop them, just because of how widely they've always been used and how people like subject like people to them. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I counted 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Cindy,
Can I start?
yes, and I can hear you. So what is your focus? And then what is the text that you will be using from Boricuas?
My focus is just to simply like to learn about your background, your history, and I'll be using Jose Torres from A Letter to a Child Like Me, pages 11 through 16 for anybody. Um,
I couldn't hear you clearly. What was the focus of the speech? Maybe if you get.
to simply just like learn about your background, like where you come from, your history.
Okay, background. Okay. Like heritage, you mean, right?
Yeah,
Background. And what is the page number for the text?
11 through 16.
And the title of the text is
A Letter to a Child Like Me.
yeah. Okay, just you may begin.
Okay. I mean, I'll just get into it where he talks about statistics, and it's a quote from the book saying the US has 250 million people, a little more than 20 million are Hispanic descent, and 8% nation's population. New York City has 25.7% high school dropouts and 42% pregnant teenagers and 8.9% unemployed. And that when I read that, it really intrigued me because I've heard those statistics before from being a like Hispanic minority. I've heard it being stereotyped. I've heard it being like generalized, and I grew up listening to those, not statistics specifically, but those generalizations. And I grew up thinking I'm not gonna be that way. I won't be part of this 25% dropouts. I've seen it happen as personal experience. People dropping out, people getting pregnant and dropping out. So I refuse to be part of that stereotype that Hispanics have. And he also says that you come into this world as a minority and you shouldn't be scared because of the statistics that you say um, that they and how they treat you, which I just mentioned like previously, which is what I kind of do. I don't want to be part of that statistic that people believe. Like I've literally heard people say like, oh, it's like surprising that you're still in high school and you're a girl and so you haven't gotten pregnant as an Hispanic myself. Like so in a way it's sad that just not being a dropout and not being pregnant is something to be proud of when it should just be like norm, I guess. And he also says that because of that, like school, even though, for example, like you have a lot of difficulties being a minority, you should still study because you can learn a lot of things about yourself and a lot of things about your that you need to know in order for you to become a better person, in order for you to develop as a person that you didn't think you would need. And he also mentions where he says, don't be ruled by others' expectations of you, which is basically saying like, oh, I'm surprised you're still in high school. I'm surprised you're still in middle school. I'm surprised you're even still in college. Which why should it be a surprise? It shouldn't be a surprise that I'm in college or I'm in high school or I made it past middle school. And whatever your ambition is, because he's a famous boxer, so he relates that to his basically his journey, saying that he learned up a lot of things about himself being a boxer. He had to learn through that route. And he's saying that he knows that he can't do that forever. So to choose even though you have that ambition to learn, to still study and stay in school, because he knows he can't do that forever. And I think that's also important. Like when I chose my career, thinking I can't, these jobs would be fun, but I know I can't do them forever. So I have to choose one that's like fun, but also stable for the rest of my life. I can't choose one that by the time I'm like old, I'll be like tired, or too, they'll drop me easily from that career path. But I do think it's important for people to learn about their background and stuff like that, because if you come in knowing you're a minority, or if you pretend that you hide that you're not a minority, you're like, oh, I'm just normal. Like, yes, we should all be considered equal and stuff like that, but you also have to realize that you're a minority. You are, well, me specifically, I'm a girl, so like it makes things like harder for us to even face the world. But we shouldn't be scared of that, and we should just like face it and try to overcome those stereotypes and those percentages and make it different. Like, I know my mom would always tell me, like, you have to learn about your background and stuff like that, because people will always come and tell you things that may be true, maybe not true, and you should be able to not be like offended by it and stand up for yourself. And I do believe in that and live by, and that's it.
Okay, I counted the 5 minutes. Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Okay,
lot. Um,
you're
I
welcome.
was recalling for the previous presentation that there is an interesting way in which Judith Ortiz Coffer, remember the way she finishes the last incident when this person thinks that she's just one worker, and this lady is attending actually her poetry reading, and then she goes, Judith goes up onto the stage, and this woman is part of the audience now, and she's so surprised to see Judith reading her poetry and addressing the audience. Um, the situation flipped, right? Um, but Judith did not finish her essay right there. She says that she was looking at the person that she was reading, at this woman, right? And then there was some kind of satisfaction in the fact that this woman was looking at her now and having to acknowledge the fact that she had done uh, something, let's say, silly, or let's say something kind of obnoxious, without thinking too much. Oh, she fits the profile, so she's working here for this event. um, we may all have, that kind of conditioning, if you will. Uh, but the beauty of the piece for me with Judith of this Coffer was that in the end, there comes to be like an agreement between the two women, Judith and this woman. Uh, and the satisfaction that Judith is feeling as she's reading her poetry for everybody, right? And also creating a new kind of relationship with the gaze of this woman, um, gives the piece, for me at least, a different meaning altogether. Okay, um, that there is a lesson that is being taught, and there is a lesson also that is being taught without violence to the person who has stereotyped Judith. There are many instances in which one can be stereotyped for different reasons, and one will not have the chance, to flip the situation, to get to different understanding. So this would be a good question for me in terms of the essay, that essay, okay? Um, how do we get to flip the situation, and how many circumstances we will be in that will provide us with that opportunity? Perhaps what we need to do is, be in a situation like this one today, and have the chance of sharing this with one another. I have been there, I have been there. in a situation I remember very similar to the one that Judith Ortiz Coffer describes. Okay, so that comment I think is it's important for that piece. Okay, don't read the beginning only. Read the sequence of the situation and read the ending for that specific moment. I think it's important to highlight that. I highlight it. And for the letter to a child like me, I couldn't agree more with Cindy, you know, and the way she was reading the text. And also what you said about finding that job, right? That will allow me to be satisfied with myself, but also will allow me to keep going somehow. And the refusal to submit to specific patterns, right? The refusal and the resilience one needs to fight against stereotypes or to fall into the trap of, you know, the same pattern, if you will. There are conditions though for that may be socio-economical conditions, and those must be explored as well, right? And questioned if that is the case. If that is the case, why are things happening that way? Okay, socially, economically, and why is this happening to a specific community, in particular the Latinx community? And and what is interesting in this case is why is this happening to young, right, women? Okay, young women belonging in the Latinx community as well, or other communities, not necessarily only for this could be, you know, true for the Latinx community. So Bella is the next person. And I think she's here, right? Or not?
My computer is broken. Like my camera is on right now and you can't see my face. Do you prefer that I don't know why, I just have a little older computer. Do you want me to sign in through my phone and try to do it like that?
Yes, I don't have problem with that. I will have to admit you only. Yeah. You can do that.
So you want me to go onto my phone?
Yes, I'm saying yes.
Okay.
Because we need to see her face as she's presenting. And Eros, I think he's not. Eros, are you here? And Angela, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, so you're coming up next after, I hope she joined us.
I'm coming right now.
Okay, because I need to admit you, I guess. So there you go. Yeah, the beauty of your phone, Bella, is that it's got your name, so I didn't have any hesitation, because there was an instance in which I saw a different name and that freaked me out. So this is good news. This is good news. So please tell us the focus of your speech, and also secondly, what is the text from Boricuas you'll be referring to?
Okay, so I'm doing immigration lifestyle as my topic. And then I'm doing on page 81 is Puerto Ricans between black and white. And I'm kind of going on to that whole chapter of like the different sections.
Could you, okay, I didn't catch that about the text. What page are you talking about? Page?
80.
80?
I think.
80, okay.
80. Yeah.
So that's Julia de Burgos? Bella?
No, on the other one, it's Puerto Ricans between black and white.
81, 81.
Yeah.
Bella, we did not discuss this text.
How did we not discuss?
No, Clara Rodriguez, Puerto Ricans between black and white. So let's see what you did with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, so.
Yes, and let me highlight that. Please make sure that your text we have discussed in class from Boricuas, that's a prerequisite for the speech. Because if not, you might get it wrong, and I haven't assisted you, I haven't helped you with information in the essay. So that's the complication here.
Okay.
Ensuring that I have helped you and maybe your classmates with their comments. Let me see the time. You can begin.
Okay. So something that is important to me is the adjustment period for immigrations when they legally move to America or become part of an American society. My mom was born and raised in Mexico City, and she married my American father at 20 years old. And for the past 10 years, my mom has been a second language teacher for migrant education. She would go to houses of immigrants and migrants and teach them English. And she would go to like the farms and teach the men how like English. But most of the time, it would be very unsuccessful because men would work so hard and not have the time to take the time to learn the English. This is an extremely important issue for me because I think the men that are coming over as immigrants are incredibly capable of many more things the many more jobs that they could accomplish, but because they don't know English or they don't know currency or they don't know the way of like an American lifestyle, they're unable to acquire a job that is fit for them. So they can't always have a stable financial home for their families and their children. And then I think what needs to happen is more people like my mom need to be able to sit down with them every day, and they need to be able to take the time to learn English and understand an American lifestyle, as well keeping their own culture alive in their homes, because it's super important to have their own homes and keep their children for generations to know their own culture. But it's important that they learn English and they learn the new American life that they're going to have, because it puts into perspective the outcome that their job can have. It allows them to have a better paying job and a better stability financially for their parents or for their family. I'm sorry. And I think I would like to. A lot of this book about Boricuas is about how Puerto Ricans have had issues with an American lifestyle because they think a lot of the times their culture is being lost, and they're unable to practice their culture and be like secure in it, and a lot of the times they're discriminated by their race, and they are unable to have a job and acquire good healthy lifestyle in America because they are discriminated or unfit in society for an American perspective. And on page 88 it says, sorry. It says, the early migrating Puerto Ricans entered a biracial society that strictly associated white with positive and black with negative. The result of this situation was that the migrant Puerto Rican held onto his culture identity very strongly and rejected racial identifications on American terms. So I think that especially in cases of immigration, when they come into a lifestyle where white is considered positive and black is considered negative, they automatically want to not associate themselves with anybody who has the same views as that. So they hold on to their own culture and they refuse to learn English or learn the lifestyle. So it makes it even more difficult for them to flourish in an American life. So I think it's really important for them or people to teach them or walk with them and let them know that it's okay to hold on to your culture, and it is encouraged that you speak your own language in your home and carry that for generation. But it's also important that you learn the lifestyle of the country that you're coming into in order to have a strong and stable like home.
I counted 4 minutes for your presentation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's interesting interesting. A quick comment is that in the two previous presentations, both of you were talking about your moms for, as sort of mentors and leaders within your family and with a vision of the future or the present. So that was interesting to me in particular. Okay, thanks. So next person, I think it's going to be our last presenter for today, Angela.
Yes, I'll be presenting. The title of my presentation is Blind Stereotypes.
Okay, and your text will be?
I'll be using both The Myth of a Latin Woman by Judith Ortiz and Little Things Are Big by Jesus Collin.
Which page at text?
The Myth of a Latin Woman is on 102.
Yeah, but the second one that you quoted.
And then Little Things Are Big is 153.
Okay.
153.
Yes, I know I assigned that one. Yeah, 153. I did assign it. Yeah, we did not have a chance to, I think, discuss this specific text, but I did assign it, and it's a story, very telling story about this person on the sideway and hesitating about helping this lady who's at the same spot with him at night, and she's white, family and kids, and he hesitates and hesitates because he believes that in case he helps her out or tries, that she will react in a negative manner, and she'll feel threatened by him, and she feels so discouraged for not having at least tried, to approach her and not let her, be with the children alone at night. So he decides in the end, next time around, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try, and I'm not going to let this divide be a gender divide, guy, lady, and racial divide. Me being maybe Afro-Latino, and she being white. This divide here in America should not let me constrain me not to become a human being with another human being. Okay. So that's the beauty for me of the text in the end, because he did not, stay within the constraints of the stereotypes or the limitations imposed by racial issues and gender issues at the same time. It's both, right? It's an intersection of both, in my view. Okay, so I wanted to say that, Angela, so that everybody is at least acquainted, because we didn't get to discuss it. But since I assigned you, I should take into account that you must have read it, just in case. So let me see about the time. And please start.
Although the two texts at first seem like they have no connection at all, I'll try my best to show the connections I found with my life and in the text. And I chose stereotypes because last week most of the people chose stereotypes, and I was moved, especially by Reagan's speech about how she wants to integrate it into like a school system. And most of us pick stereotypes, so we can all agree that stereotypes for the most part tend to be wrong most of the time. And I remember being really young, and even now, I used to have teachers be like, at the end of the year, come up to me and be like, oh, I thought you were gonna be like very loud, or I expected you to be a very different type of student, or like be kind of like spicy, one of the teachers referred to me as. But I tend to be really reserved, or at least I like to think I'm a pretty good student. And when you're young, you're at first you're like confused, like she blindly judged and slapped this like label on me without knowing. And for example, in Judith Ortiz, The Myth of a Latin Woman, when she states on page 102. You can leave the island, master the English language, and travel as far as you can. But if you are Latina, especially one like me, who so obviously belongs to Rita Moreno's gene pool, the island travels with you. And I remember reading that, and this one teacher stopped me in public, and she was like, "Oh, you used to be one of my students. Don't tell me your name." And she was like, "You're not Maria, are you?" And I was like, "No." And then she was like, "Amani, Talia," and I was like, "No, no, I'm none of no." And she kept saying these names, and looking back at it, I didn't realize she grouped us all together because each girl that I listed, they were Hispanic girls I grew up with in my school, like in my school district. And none of us shared classes together, but I realized that that teacher had like grouped us just for speaking a different language because I didn't speak English at the time. So I was very confused, and you face these stereotypes. But like Lindsay said, she's a female athlete and she faces stereotypes all the time. And that just proves you don't have to be something in specific to face these stereotypes or judgment people have already made. The second example on page 104, also the myth of a Latin woman. She says mixed culture signals have perpetuated certain stereotypes, for example, that a Hispanic woman as a hot tamale or sexual firebrand is one dimension view that the media has easily promoted. And we are so quick to blame the media for, oh, that's why we see these women this way or why we picture men this way. And we blame the media for perpetuating or making the cookie cutout for what people are supposed to be like. But I think the connection in Little Things Are Big by Jesus Collin, which is the story that you were saying, he says, but how can I, a Negro and a Puerto Rican, approach this white lady who very likely might have preconceived prejudices against Negroes and everybody with foreign accents? He believed the stereotypes about himself that other people put on him. And he even stereotyped the lady to be racist or have ideas or that she was judging him before he even offered to help or even got to know her. And I remember in my life, those instances with those teachers used to cause me to not want to state my opinion or not speak too loudly to be seen a certain way. And I relate with both tellings of the stories because stereotypes come from other people, but from us as well. And if you want to incorporate in the school, like Reagan said, and everyone said that it's a bad thing, then we must be the change we want to see. So it starts with us, like he says, he promises himself in the end. I make to myself here and now, if I am ever faced with an occasion like that again, I am going to offer my help, regardless of how the offer is going to be received. And I think what I'm trying to persuade you into believing today is the problem doesn't only start in schools or in the media, but that it starts with ourselves and we should be the change we want to see. And I remember making my own stereotypes about people I've never met. And in order to have those stop about who I am, I need to stop doing it to others. And I think rather than wanting to change other people and being like those stereotypes are wrong, we should continue to live and prove that within our own lives, those stereotypes are wrong and walk in the steps that we want to see so we can lead by example. That was my persuasive speech.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So I counted 4 minutes for your speech. Yeah, I had forgotten what you said about the accent as well. So that was part of the situation that he was facing up. And what you have said about us, right? Because you said we stereotype, and then you concluded was interesting in the sense that then there is like a system happening, right? And we can, as different people coming from different communities, we can all work together to face up to that specific system that divides us. So it's not necessarily, you know, a person, a single person or a single community in that regard. But I sense in the text by Jesus Colon that he felt so oppressed and kind of repressed by the situation as well, you know, by the system dividing people. So if he could feel that way, let's hope that other people will also feel that way to fight against that, to fight against just a vague I don't only want to say divisions, you know, but preconceptions, if you will, preconceptions. But for that, we get to know, we need to get to know the people, okay? We need to cross the threshold and get to know each other somehow, okay? And then we'll know if the person from time to time is discriminating, and we can tell them, okay? Hey, that's happening with you. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's happening here? Which is very difficult to do, but maybe it should be an exercise we all should get involved with if we want for things to change, as you are saying, Angela. So I don't have, let me see. I don't have anything else to add. We are 2 minutes away from the end of the class. So I will use these 2 beautiful minutes to thank all the presenters today. And in addition, to remind you of what we're doing again, you know, next week. Next week, we will, Monday and Wednesday, be meeting to discuss specific poems by Richard Blanco, and also have a conversation about what is poetry performance, if you will, okay, all about. Because the end goal of this segment of the class will be, or your task will be, to present a poem to us, to perform it, okay? So I will need, you will need to choose one poem by Richard Blanco, and I can assign you a poem by Richard Blanco to present to the class, okay? So we'll put a little poetry performance together along the way. Please read the poems by Richard Blanco. They are very, just beautiful pieces. And I will see you, I guess, Monday. Next Friday, we have another, the last, right, set for persuasive speeches. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Professor, I have a question. So I was originally going to do my speech on like how on Pedro Albizu about how they should be free, a free country on its own.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico. But now that after I heard Angela's, can I use that, but like use like in a way for me though? Like use that same text?
That she was using?
Yeah.
You mean which text? Because she was using 2.
Oh my, I think the one with Jesus Colon where he couldn't find his identity, where he was confused by identity.
Which page is that? 153?
Let me see. Hold on. She said something about people needing to. Oh, okay. I can't really remember. Hold on.
I mean, the answer is yes. I just want to know what text are you talking about?
Okay. I forgot. I don't know. I forgot if it was her or Isabella that said about like not like about how children should learn the younger generation should learn the parents like old languages like in their household and stuff. I think that was Isabella actually.
And let me see.
That
Yeah, she was talking about the text by the boxer.
Is that one of the first ones or no?
Which one was? Let me see.
Roberto Santiago. I remember there's a boxer one in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or oh wait, Jose Torres.
I think that, yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
So that's the one you want to use?
I just want to, yeah, some, because like I want to just talk about how like I was kind of like I kind of grew up like that too. Like I kind of grew up like being categorized in a group, you know, instead of individually with the rest. But I don't know. I'm gonna read it again. I'm gonna just read which one fits that one best.
Yeah, because that he talks a lot about um, um, maybe he grew up poor. He
Okay.
didn't have any options, so he saw boxing as an opportunity, you know, to be successful. He trained. He went to the army, and he was fighting against different guys, and so that was his training. And he had all two main African American boxers as his idols, as his mentors, you know, quote unquote. Um, and then he talks about the challenging of being a boxer, and then his aspiration somehow of becoming not placed in that box necessarily, but becoming someone else um, with access to culture, with access to more options in life and different jobs. But he says very clearly, I did not have any options. That was my option, the one that I, you know, could take on as my, I don't know, profession. So I don't know if that is fitting with perceptions and stereotypes, but
Can I use like a section that we didn't read?
if you could do that,
Yeah, I could.
I would rather you don't.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
All right.
but maybe you're talking also about Black and Latino, page 93.
That's what I was also talking about too with Roberto Santiago.
Yeah, and then maybe yeah, because the docile Puerto Rican, I don't think you can use. I don't think that will work out. That's one of the readings, recent readings. And then let me see. Yeah, the Miguel Gonzalez Whippler. I don't think that will be useful for your topic. Yeah, so it's this one by Roberto Santiago. It's also, it would be interesting if you can use the Judith Ortiz Coffer as well. Why not? Oh, she's talking about gender, but she's talking about, you know, being Latina.
Yeah.
So I don't see why not.
Okay.
It could be either.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read it over then and just find out what I can do with it.
Yeah, my advice would be think about your ending.
Okay.
For the speech. How are you going to end it? I think because it should be clear for us that you concluded, you had some conclusions, and I noticed that one of the speeches, the beauty of it was that the presenter was repeating somehow the main idea throughout, and then, you know, she used it in a very powerful way at the end. Yes, she was repeating it, but in such a what is it, compelling manner that it felt like she was refreshing the point, that she wasn't simply repeating it. And maybe a good way of ending it is by adding something to the main point that you're trying to get across. And it's not bad for speeches. I don't think it's a bad idea to repeat it, because I don't think it sinks in if you say it once. So you need to say it more than once. Now you have a challenge, Marlo, and this is the challenge. Your classmates have presented on the topic. So how are you gonna make it new?
Yeah, okay.
Let me give you a point. Just one idea. If you make it like more personal, not, you know, disclosing private situations necessarily, it will refresh.
Okay.
But you need to make it yours. It will refresh. If not, it will be, you know, too repetitive. So find a way to make it new.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
All right. See you.
Okay. Bye-bye.